Hi guys, just trying to set this up a little bit for you. I'm going to have a little bit of a mess today, just so that you know. Maybe a little bit closer, I think. I'm just going to take this with me, and we'll have this cord to help us out. Okay. Hi everyone. I am going to see by this list because I cannot go back because I can't see from sitting over here. But hello, Mary R. Hello, Glenn. Hello, Thelma. And I have started. Let's take a peek here at what we've got going on, other than a very big mess. So part of this mess is me, and part of this mess is Debbie. And we just kind of are working over the top of each other. So there's going to be a little bit, yeah, I have now, right? So anyways, let's see. I have got a lot of examples to show you, and then I'm going to show you how to make what I've made. And you can use absolutely anything that you want for paper on these. And so I'm going to show you a couple of ideas. Some of you have already seen this. Let me bring it in a little bit. So lots of people have already seen this back when we had the tuck and play 3/4. Let me pull those out here to remind you, sitting right next to me. So we have these tuck and play cards, and I went ahead and I made these. Hi, Mary T. Thank you, Thelma, for letting me know. We have these, and I had them from our little online conference that we did. That's probably the best way to describe it. And what we did is that we had these little cards, and they are absolutely wonderful. You get two sizes. One is 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. They're double-sided, so you can flip to either side. And there's 24, one copy of each design per page. So there's lots of little goodies in here as far as beautiful pictures. And I'm going to show you what I did that I took from that idea. So this is my little booklet. And I need to make sure that I'm going to stay in the right place for this. Okay, so here's my little booklet. And I have found a little inexpensive chain that has a little picture of the steampunk idea with the watch and the colors and everything. So I just happen to have this in my stash because it's a color that I like and it's something that I enjoy. And I always thought, well, hey, I can do this. I'll probably have a chance to use this at some point in time. Same thing with the gears and the keys that I've tied onto the twine. And so some of these are some that Debbie has in stock. She does have keys as well as these gears. So I don't know if she has the greenish color. That was something that I bought on my own. So this little bracelet has a little clasp in the back because, of course, it's a bracelet. And I just took my twine and braided it and then tied it to the chain end of this. So here's the back with the little hook. I've just put in a braid chain and then tied it off here and put it through the actual holder. So the easiest way to get it off is going to be to unhook it, but somebody else may find it a little bit more difficult to put it back on. So I have to rethink if I need to make this looser or put it down here at the bottom. So we'll just see. Anyways, okay. So the concept behind these albums is that you're going to be able to use a die. Any one that you have is fine. This is kind of an aperture die that I cut to I have 2 halves. They cut into 2 strips, and it comes way out here in one set. And then I added the extra piece of copper over the top to inlay it so that it would lay flat and look like it should be an aperture at that spot. Because I had to extend it out a little bit. You can kind of see in the ruffle right here, I had to extend that out. And the same thing happened on this side too. I had to extend it out a little bit. So it's just playing with the dies that you have. I have a little frame die on this that I have from Hunky Dory. And then just any flowers that you have, really. Some of these I made, other ones we had in the system a while back. And I don't know if we have any more, but we have a lot of flowers that are very similar in our little birdies. And so you may find that you might like that. And so inside, I made this kind of like a maybe a little bit of jotting down or some memos along with some pictures. So you can kind of decide. It looks like it's something that you can totally add one thing or the other. So you can maybe put a saying here, something that's inspiring to you. You can also put on some very flat, because of how thick this paper is that I used on this one. You'll need to use very flat areas. And not have a lot of buildup of 3D, but you should be able to add on some of your gears into these pictures. And in fact, it may be fun if you wanted to put something down here to just attach it with a gear on each side. So this one, just kind of maybe you could put somebody's name on it or a thought that you have. I just used another one of my little dies that I have at home that's a little tag. And then in here, I put, and I made pockets. I didn't make fat pockets. I just took some of the pictures, and this had half of this and the other half was this guy. And so I cut him out, and then I used the extra half. And so you can tuck in a photo, you can tuck in a note, anything that you wanted to do in there. As you can see, I put the flowers in thinking that it could handle a little bit of 3D, but it didn't do a really great job. It's just too thick. So part of that is because I added an extra entire set of booklet pages. And so the one that I'm going to show you today gives you a little bit more leeway and to be able to have that thickness. Or excuse me, not have the thickness so that you can add other things. And the really neat thing about this book is that this is your front end on one side. And so you're literally starting to open up your book. And it goes back and forth. So now you have this. And then when you do this one, it totally changes the look. And what I tried to do is really blend with the colors for each page so that this looks just as good with all four. Let me pull this out a little bit. It looks good with all 3 pages being opened up to you at the time. But it also looks good with the next set of pages. Here I've just cut one of those tucks in half, and I've put one on one side and one on the other. There wasn't anything on there that it's one of the smaller booklets, this piece. And so I wanted to make sure that I was able to fill the space. The background on this one is Craft Consortium. It was the patina one that we had for a very long time. You can totally do this with any paper pack, and that's why we put it on the top of this is an album that you can create with any paper pack. I just want to show you how I did each one of these a little bit, and then we're going to talk about how to do a few more. And we'll just kind of spend a little bit of time looking and enjoying some of our papers, because any of these that I'm going to show you will work with one of these albums. So here's one area, so you can put in another, however you want to fill your book. So if you have something that you have in mind for someone, if you want inspiration, steampunk came out of the idea of the steam age along with the Victorian values and designs. And so that's kind of where steampunk started. So this pack is called Invention Age. And Invention Age really truly does have that idea of, hey, where can you go with this? So maybe where you're not really thinking about it, you could totally make this into some form of a graduation book for someone, or somebody that's going off to college and you want to inspire them, or maybe a new job. You can totally go through and just continue to make your sections, and you can choose how you want them to look along with what you want to say in them. So these could be pictures of photo out as a photo album, or it can be little notes. It can be journaling. So you could write your person that you want to give this to, maybe for the year, you want to write a little note to them. You want to write a little note to them, letting them know where, what you thought about them over this last year. So maybe once a month you can write something down and then give them the gift at the end of the year. So there's tons of different ways that you can handle these. You can use a magnet underneath, and then you can go through and, yes, Mary R, it is the industrial age. So it's the concept of steam and moving forward, but the punk part of it is this concept that you work with the gears and vintage pieces from celebrating the industrial age. And so that's kind of come about over the last 20 years-ish, and really is now a very popular thing that seems to be here to stay. Thank you, Glenn. So you can put a magnet here if you wanted to, and then put something that you might want to have attached. You just put your magnet underneath the paper, and then it can hold whatever it is that you want to say. So there's neat tricks that you can use at being able to make these a lot different than maybe somebody else would have. Hi, Pam. Hey, Pam. Oh, good. You got my message. Good. I'm glad. So I'll watch for it and send it out tomorrow. The mail's already gone out for the day because of class, and I have to run to my granddaughter's school program when we're done with this. So again, lots of little tags and spaces to slip things in. You can make tags, you can make bookmarks. Some of these are just going to be fun picture pages. But as you can see, I've put in just tons, and all that this is, I've used some foam squares to pop this one up where I had a little bit more space. So lots of different things that you can do with them. And this is all paper from the Craft Consortium 6x6 pages that I cut down. So in the patina. And then at the very end, you've got this. This was the first one that I made, and I will tell you right now, for me, this is a little messy, and I came up with how to fix that problem. So we'll talk about it in the next album that I show you. So if you want to stick with along the lines of the, and you'll notice I have to weave them back and forth in the book, or else it just won't close right. So these are made to have every other page. So you're always going to be able to see approximately 3 pages at a time. You know, I have this from my die from the old, I pulled this up as an example. So I have this one from the Hunky Dory Gears back when we did Clockwork Emporium. And I love this one. And we've got that along with a few other ones from Hunky Dory that really have been a great piece that you can use to help decorate a theme. So this one is for the industry or the invention age. And some of the other ones that you can use, I looked at this. We're going to do a replay of the Be Happy. And we don't have any of the tech cards, but I wanted to show you that you can get their 6x4 card pack and totally be able to use those as your backing papers and everything else. So if you were to get their little picture pack, look at all those pretty things, and you've got some little cutouts that you can use. So this just gives you some ideas for each of these companies and how you could go about in using them. This one's a nautical from them that also has a little bit of steampunk to it. It's got a little bit of watches and hot air balloons and just different things. different things that you can add in and put into one of these books as your backgrounds. I don't want to just show you steampunk, and the Happy Bees is definitely not steampunkish. This one is more of a vintage piece. It's the 3/4 Classic Elegance. And you've got some beautiful background papers. You've got some beautiful little pieces that you can cut out. You even have a little bit of chipboard in here that you can use in your foil, whether it's cold foil or hot foil. You can add that to your pieces to use as decorative instead of using dies, or you can find something that matches this theme and use that in your papers. So this is just from 3/4. They have a lot more. It was just an example to show you. I'm going to throw this in now just because I'm not going to have a chance to be able to do this one. And I ran out of time to be able to make another one of these albums. But we have here, these are just from our square books that we have. We've got the fairy ones, we've got the neon ones, I've got the unicorn ones at home. This was a matte square book that we had for travel and vintage looks. I tend to go for a lot of those, so you might see a little bit of extra in this. Yes, Glenn, I totally agree. Maps work very well for that. Handwritten, I know that I've got tons of backgrounds for handwritten pieces. You can get those from Hunky Dory if you don't have any, but there's always somebody that's got some handwritten background paper, and those would go great with this as well. Any of these albums can be made in whatever size that you want, because I'm going to teach you on how to be able to work your papers. So you can even make little books. So if you take this size, look at how much of a difference there is. All that's really different is that this one is a little bit more on the square side, and this one is a little bit narrower. And my other one, I've created a little bit narrower. And all you're doing here is going to be cutting off the height. So if you wanted to use one of the little pocket pads, this is my gardening one that I have. And we've got the Highland animals from our wildlife, Highland wildlife from Hunky Dory. And look, aren't these just adorable? Some of them may be a little bit harder to fit in just because of the size, but you can always just cut out the cow, or you can find a little place to tuck him in. And I'll show you what I mean on my next example. So these are just a lot of fun. Your little ones will probably absolutely enjoy something like this to be able to look at. So you can make them into books. You can write stories about them, or you can really, you can do just whatever you want. My thought on the gardening ones was that I thought, wouldn't it be great to actually make it set up into a planting journal? So using this size, giving it some background papers, and then just creating some garden journaling, like this is when my seeds started to sprout. This is what, especially when you get into sprouting seeds that are special, where you have to cut them or cull them in order to be, it's just a tiny little, I believe that they call it culling, but it's just a little tiny clip into the seed in order to let it soak in water or in wet paper towels so that you can get the first root before you actually plant it. So there are lots of different things. You can keep track of what the weather is like, or how your plants did, what came up, what do you need to do. So there's lots of different people that you can make these for as gifts, because I tell you, there's lots of different ways to use them. So this is our Miri mats from Hunky Dory. They fit perfect with the pocket pads. And so look, you don't even really have to find much of a background for these, because the pocket pads have, I want to say that there is 4 of each. Yes, 4 of each design in the pocket pads. So you can also build them up with making them a little bit more 3D. No, it's not an outhouse. It's like a little potting shed. It's got little pieces around it. Let's see. I really like this one. I don't know how many more we have of this. The other thing that you can use with some of these is going to be your die cuts from Hunky Dory, because they've now made the gardening die cut and the birds die cut and the rose die cut. So there's lots of really pretty ones. If you wanted to do it all sideways or to tack it down for notes, you can just choose the up and down ones. Or excuse me, not the up and down, but the landscape version instead of the portrait version. So that's a way that you can make them. And I pulled this one just because it's absolutely super cute. And I said that you can use it as a little book as well. So here's a perfect example of that size. See how nicely those will just fit right in there, and you can create. This one is just kind of silly. I grabbed it because it's one of our new ones that we have out, but you can totally do it with the unicorn dreams that just came out, the dragons. So there are other ones that are out there, but I didn't want to do a whole bunch of showing and getting into these too much, because there's only so many. And so if I grabbed one that I already have had for a few months, possibly a year, there just wouldn't be enough for everybody. So I'm just letting you know, you can do this with anything. Okay, let's see here. That's the Hunky Dory pack. These are some of our 6x6 Craft Consortium backgrounds. If you haven't had a chance to look at these, they're double-sided so that they're multi-use. They've got tons of beautiful colors in them. This one we tend to have a lot all the time, ink drops. This one is one that we have a few of. And with the Highland cows, I realize it's not Highland-ish, but aren't cows and woods somehow possibly related to each other? So those are just a couple of ideas. There are also ways that you can use these albums to do something a little bit more fun. Like you can create some 3Ds with your multimedia. So you can use maybe some of your own backgrounds, like the Jamie Sparkles, and then put on a layer of the glue mix with gesso, and create actual pieces of art on your items. You can also use embossing folders as well on your pages to help kind of enrich them. The other thing that I'm going to recommend is, if you don't have something like this, I recommend that you take a look at these, because these are, you can use the outer shapes or you can use the inner shapes to make your tags with. It is a hand cut. These are just templates, but they'll last you forever and ever. And these are really nice because of the size. I'm going to go ahead and I think this one is, the other one I'm not sure if the sticker is over the top of it, so I'm going to open it on one of the other ones. And we have other toolkits in there as well. There's also Christmas ones. So you want to create Christmas books or holiday books, you absolutely can with these tags. Some of them are a little big. Some of these would be perfect for making little cutouts, but this will work great. I don't know. Let me see here. So you can see what that looks like on the back. They're too clear otherwise. Here's a beautiful little key. Wouldn't that be fun to have as a template on your steampunk? So there's just lots of fun little ways that you can use things. Here's a tag. You can either use the tag outside or you can use the arrow in the middle. I think that out of all of them, my favorite has either been the Christmas ones or the brown tags. And of course, the brown tag one is completely sealed. So I don't want to open that one today. But if you haven't taken a look at these are handy, and you don't have to get out the die cutter and do that whole process, which will take you some time. And I know that there are some people that it's easier to die cut versus cut by hand, and I totally understand. I'm not a straight cutter. I can usually do well with templates. Sometimes my hands hurt, so you never know. But it's a nifty tool to have in your idea bank for ways in which you can embellish some of these. And I will also say any embellishments that you have will work great for one of these albums. So like I showed you, the keys, just pull out from whatever you have in your stash and you can really go to town. We've got lots of Graphic 45, and I know that Graphic 45 has their own albums, but I just want to point out to you that you can use these as well. You can use the ephemera with it. You would have to be really careful in how you do this and how thick you make the inside of your book. So these are the tags and frames, but tags and frames would be great because then you can just put little pieces of information inside that you can write for yourself. For notes and make it special to someone. The stickers are really thin as far as thickness goes, but they're still a chipboard or cardstock sticker. It's not the chipboard thickness like we have had in the past, like the tags and frames are now, but it still has some good strength to it, and they really are beautiful. So I know that I'm throwing a lot at you and you're like, but I don't quite understand what we're doing yet. And I totally get it, but I have to get through all of these things before I move forward. Okay, so this is the one that I've been working on over the last couple of days to be able to give you a couple of different examples as we go. This is from the Provence in the morning in Provence. And this is the A4, which is the one that I used. We're getting low on the A4, but we weren't when I pulled this, like, I think 2 weeks ago when I planned on doing this class. So this is the regular pack. We still have quite a few of these. The regular pack gives you both background papers as well as various different tags and cutouts as you go. And then this is the patterns pad. And the patterns pad also gives you quite a few tags and backgrounds. So what I did was that most of the things that I did, I used this pack, but then I would use the pattern paper for my backing for the insides. So these would be what I would recommend. I did not get as far as getting any of the die pieces cut in here, but if you have someone that's allergic to lavender, like Debbie is, which is why I'm doing this when she's not here. Hello, Irene. I don't know. There are several different toolkits. Yes, Thelma, there are several different toolkits. I think there's 3, 4, 5, 8. And then there's some flat ones too that are just 8 by 11 templates, that there are some tags and things in those as well that are a little bit smaller. So my thought is that we've got these beautiful lavender ones from Hunky Dory. This is the stamp set. This is the stamp set one. And it is one of those that you add on with each shade. So you put this in a lighter shade and then you slowly build it up and build it up in order to be a stamped item of lilac. My original plan was, because I really think that I can get more done than what I really can, but my original plan was to have this as a shadow on the back of this paper. See how it's just got the little bit of lavender right here on the corner? And the thought is that I could put this as my shadow. And then these are lavender. They're kind of like a quilling, but you can take and create your own little pieces of lavender, and they are really beautiful. They are not difficult to do. It just takes a little bit of time to figure out how to manipulate it. But if you read the directions in here, and then you've got 3D that you can put on the outside. There's some butterflies on there as well. So there's some thoughts. So we're going to actually make one here, I promise, in just a little tiny bit. But I want to show you some of the details that were created into this, because I showed you the one that I did very quickly. I actually did this really quickly. I got it done in within 2 days, because I already had the tuck and play and I knew that Debbie was going to have it and I wanted to show what you could make with it. So I ran and I made sure that I got it done, and it was very quick. So it doesn't have, this one has a lot more time that was to create it, so you can see how far you can go with this. I'm going to bring it in just a little bit more, hopefully, then that way you can see the details. So I tied my ribbon and my flowers into my ribbon, so then that way you could just slide it off, because in reality you're never going to be able to keep this lavender forever on this album, but it sure makes it pretty as a gift when you first hand it to somebody, and the smell is beautiful. Part of the reason why I did it this way too is that you can have your lavender, and the goal is that you really want to be able to let them smell this as you do it. So if you have somebody that's allergic to lavender, don't use it. But it's a great way, because just smelling this as you open this album is so much fun. So looks a little plain without the lavender on it, but you can see how that idea of the long-term use would be to use the shadowing. Hi, Sharma. Okay, so there we go. Maybe we might have to pull it back again. So each one of these comes with the base album, which we're going to make today. I can't put all the fancy dancy stuff on it, but this will give you the ideas in order to be able to do that with whichever paper that you choose. So I have a little tag. I folded it in a little bit on each side so that I would have a little slip for something fun. This I created on lavender. It just tells a really quick, I should have shrunk it down a little bit more, but it just tells a really quick, this is a family of the mint. In the mint family, true lavender sometimes is what it's called, and you can use the stems, the flowers, and the essential oils. And this was something that I found really neat. Its symbols are purity, renewal, and rejuvenation, and beauty and resilience. So it's a nice little thing to have in there. And so this says here, keep calm and put lavender in your life. And right up here, I've put a couple of our little birdie flowers on a paper clip, and I would probably do this more, but I just didn't have time to keep going with this. And I wrote in here in pencil, so it's very faint. And so part of the fun with something like this is to have people find what you have given as a little note. And on this little piece, it says, and you can see it better on the camera than you could looking at the paper. That's amazing. So it says scratch and sniff. And the reason why is because when you turn it over, I actually found some washi tape and I thought, oh, this is great. This is washi tape that I already have. It's got lavender because I love lavender. And I thought this will be perfect. And I totally forgot that it has the smell of lavender in it. So if somebody does have an allergy, I don't know where you're going to find it. I don't remember where I got it. But if you have someone that has an allergy, this is more of a smell that smells like lavender. And if you scratch and sniff, it really just brings the smell there. Smelling this to the actual lavender, it is a little bit different, but it will still bring back that memory of having the lavender smell. And then I've put in a little thing here for you to be able to put whatever you want to on here as a surprise. I hid a little tag along the back. And anything that I backed or put on, I also put a little bit of white lace on this and glued it down. So it's now a nice, almost, I use my tacky glue, so it has almost a decoupage feel of lace over the top. So it worked really well on this, and you'll see in a couple of other pages how it worked. I did not have time to create my mechanism, but my mechanism is to put a hole here, tape in a little bit of ribbon, tuck it on up in there. And so you can pull this out and flip it over and read, discover the serenity that ties within the enchanting realms of lavender. So you can put it and tuck it away. So here's our 3 pages that sometimes you'll see 3, sometimes you'll only see 2, but I have poems in here with flowers. This is probably one of my favorite about lavender. When they talk about resilience, it is true. I just took some colored paper and printed my pieces on the colored paper. Excuse me. And then I used the washi tape here and here. So they'll be able to get the smells from not only here, but this, when you open up the book, will kind of give you a hint. It's not strong at all. And because of the thickness, I had to take my pearls off, but I would probably just put in one of my little flat rhinestone pieces, and it will look beautiful. This I hand cut out and put it on a little bit of backing. I also tore the bottoms in some of these places, just like I did on the edges here. It really finishes it off. And in fact, I also did it on my washi tape. I just kind of ripped it here and there to give it that little bit of shabby chic look. So this one is specifically about herbs and lavenders. You have teapots. I just put in a little brad and glued it behind the backing of the paper. So you have this all ready to go and you glue it through your backing. Have little jars. And then I've put in 3 different quotes in there, because each one of these, because of the height of them all, you can kind of see it poking out, but you won't see them. Just it pokes out just a little bit when you give them to it this way. And then this is just extra paper that I had. It has a little bit of lace here at the top, and so I went ahead and added more lace using my tacky glue as a decoupaging Mod Podge type of thing. Over here, I've put in, let's see. Oh, because these are kitchen, I made the decision that I was going to put, like the aroma of lavender, let your essence leave a lasting impression. Breathe in the serenity of lavender and exhale the worries of the day. Lavender infused moments that make life sweeter. And so I put in on a couple of my tags, I wrote in my lavender sugar recipe and how you make it, and also my lavender seasoning recipe. So I put those in for somebody. I added some buttons so you can see I've got a lot more thickness in here, and I've been able to add more. You still have to be careful of how much you add. Hi, Laura. So it has been, so you can absolutely do a little bit more with these. If you just keep the pages a little bit, not put so many pages in. And honestly, this is plenty of pages to do what you want. So then here's my next one. I've tucked in some tags. This one is a picture of the fields. There's a little quote in here: lavender known to bring grace and good luck. Tranquil lavender, gift to us is a peace of mind. And then here, so look at how many fun little things that you can have. Pure happiness is the frolicking through the lavender fields. Here's a tag, and on the back, it always seems to me as if the lavender was a little woman in a green dress with a lavender bonnet and a white kerchief. She's one of those strong, sweet, wholesome people who always rest you, and her sweetness lingers long after she goes away. This one also has a little tag in it. So I moved from cooking to the fields, where you go into the fields, and I probably need to bring this out just a little bit with having 3 or 4 different pages at a time. So what I did was I moved from the fields and the aromas into the next pieces of aromas, which is perfume. The serene essence of lavender gently restores peace from within. I just added a little spine to it, to folded it over to glue it on. And so now I've got a little book flap. Some of this paper, like I said, I love lavender. And so this is something that, that you can do lots of different ways. And so I have some extra background papers just because I needed some extras instead of repeating all the same backgrounds. I'd rather wear lavender in my hair than diamonds around my neck. On the butterfly. And then I stuck with the butterfly theme for these pages. Now, I will tell you that a portion of seeing more than 3 pages has to do with the fact that I did not pay attention, and this was the second book that I made. And being that I've made this for myself, I'm not sure how everything works completely until I do it a couple of times. And the first one gave me a lot of sturdiness, and all you ever saw was 3 pages. But with this one, it kind of creeps in a little bit. So I'm going to try and do something a little bit different with the one that I'm going to show you. And hopefully it will work to where we have more space for the thinner pages, but it will still have a little bit more support. So here's our butterflies. I put on a 3D little butterfly that I had from cutting out one of the pages. And then, as you can see, I'm starting to wear out of spaces. This one says, she danced along the edges of life like lavender in the wind, delicate yet resilient. And then I've put in a couple more of those brad pieces in there. You could even make it into a bookmark with a ribbon if you wanted to. But there are a few extras in the cutouts that probably would have ended up in here with an actual lavender piece. So the next place that I had something that was a little bit thicker, and so I had to put it in the next open space that had a little bit more room. So this is that space. So we've got a little cart, little tea piece. And then it was really cool in the patterns. They have a couple of little books, little boxes that you can make. And this was the base of one of their boxes. Well, I couldn't use it as a box, so I cut this portion of it out. And then I took this little box and I folded it in and of itself. So then now I've put it in a little bag, but I have added some lavender honey spice herbal tea in here. And this is a perfect little place for it. And that is as far as I got, other than to the last page, because let's face it, there are a lot of pages in here, aren't there? So the one thing that I want to show you, look at all those pages. So you saw from the first book how much you can put in here. So it's amazing. But this is my last page, and it's so much neater than the first one that I did because I figured out, oh, hey, I need to glue this down as my first piece that I glue before I start putting in my pages. Yes, I absolutely have tons of papers at home. My husband, in fact, we were kind of joking, and he said, you could like almost open your own store. But that's what happens when you work for a company that is crafting and you love it. So there you have it. So these are two of the books, and now I'm going to go through, and this is where it gets more in depth. So this was nice show and tell, but now let's look and see what it's going to take to make your base, because that's really all we're talking about is that we are making a base, and it's really not a difficult thing to do. I have taken, I guess I have a little bit more show and tell. I've pulled my Studio Light vintage diaries that came in, because look at, they have, and it comes with punch outs. So I was really excited because now I don't have to cut these out, and they're coming with punch outs instead of fussy cutting. So that was great. There's tons of pages, lots of different things, right down my alley of looks and styles. And so I thought, well, okay, here we go. Let's do something new. But again, it already provides you with a ton of these little things that you can use. This gives me my background papers. And look at this, guys. If you want to make an album, this is what you buy. And I'm not kidding you, because this, I'm going to tell you the reason why right in a couple more pages. So look at all these background papers that we have that we can use. Oh, there's one of the handwriting styles, because you can use that with almost anything. I've got some extra backgrounds of just colors. And if you noticed in the lavender one, I did have some spaces that were just those colors. Now, look at this. Well, you'll look at it, but only after I have the opportunity to actually tear it out. Look at here. I was so excited. I had bought it, not realizing that these were in here. And I went, oh, this is perfect. I was really excited, if you can't tell. So now look, you can fold it. You can hide the fat this way, but I think that it is truly meant to sit like this. So you can attach it and make a little envelope this way or this way, and you can tuck in your little 3D pieces on the outside and on the inside. You can write notes, whatever you want to do. And this leads to that same concept of lace. There were two in this page. And look at all these neat other little tags that they have. And it was amazing because I hadn't seen this when I did my steampunk one, and I used those pictures as a split for holding something. And look at what they've done. They were thinking, they were using my mind. I know that that's what it was. They're using my mind. I don't know how they're getting there, but they are. So look at that. We've got separate pieces that we can put on, and we can flip the pages if we want. So doesn't that remind you of something that I had in one page? And then in another page, I had something like this. And this is even better because now this gives me a little flap for all of my pieces, and I can use it thickly or thinly. So I've got a piece here. I can even score that and fold it a little bit thinner, which would give me a little bit more depth than I would get with just folding it flat here. So it's in this pack. I cannot believe it. I opened it up. I was so excited. So that's one example. Here's another one where they've used a die cut to give it a beautiful scalloped edge. Little ones with just little thumb tags in them for like as if you were going to file something away. And, oh yes, and they have 2 different sides, so you can choose which one you like the best. This is fussy cut, but it's got a ton of sayings on it, which I was thankful that it was there, along with sayings here as well. So they literally took everything that I did to make these last 2, and they've created one for you. So I think that if someone just wanted to be able to cut it up and take the time, this is the reason why I saved this one for last. Yes, adding photos is great. Create art with your heart. And then it has other little sayings. Live the life you want to read about. Grateful for your love. Let's create together. I love my story. Handmade post is the best post. Celebrate life together. May all your dreams come true. And then these say things like, with love, enjoy your day. Handmade for you. You are so lovely. And again, more little tags in here for us to be able to tuck and hide, and more words. So I had to create all the different quotes for the lavender, and I'm going to show you how many I've made. 4 pages worth. And so I think what we're going to do is that if you guys say, yes, I would love to have the lavender quotes, I can probably put them in the store. I think that Debbie did 2 pages for $2. I want to say it's been a while since we created quotes. Not since we were really doing a lot of explosion boxes, but we can totally create these. It will just be black and white, so you will have to add it to your color by doing your photocopy work, doing some extras. If you do not have a photocopier and you really want some of the purple, we can probably make it work, but you'd have to request it, and then the cost would be a little bit higher, just because we have to use it and print it on the colored paper. So this also has, if you can't tell, a few different tags in it with a few different envelopes. This looks like almost like one of the seed envelopes or packet envelopes, if you wanted to call it that. Speaking of which, if you haven't seen, there's a seeds die on Tattered Lace that I believe is for 50% off with Tattered Lace. I don't want to misquote, so I'm not going to say that it's absolutely that, but I'm pretty positive that it is for 50% off. And this is a perfect kind of thing to use if you don't want to have to cut, or you don't have one that's already pre-made into something for you. But look at this. We've got a cute little seed packet. They even thought of it thoughtfully. They've created a hole right here so that you can tape your thread in and then you can pull it through the hole. And then you can use a slide or you can tie a knot, however you want to do that. But you can also do it in reverse. And again, lots of little pieces, little circles. So they have all of this beautiful additional stuff that's already in here. Look at this envelope one and look at what's on the inside. Beautiful, beautiful. And they even have little ones for little envelopes in 4 different colors, and they're double-sided. So you've got lots of options. So in my excitement, I say let's get going because it's already 5 o'clock and you guys want to be out of here, I am assuming, in the next little bit. I will tell you that this and this are going to be one of the best ways that you can do a ton of these albums, because these, I know that Debbie has shown them to you, but these give you all background papers. They give you sections of tags and pockets. It's not going to have the blend of, it's not going to have the blending of all these cool shapes, but it does, if you recall, we had that one as a show and tell for you guys to make about 1.5 years ago. But it does have all of these decorations in the back, which gives you another 3D look that matches each of these pages. And you can always create your own tags, right? So this book, and it gives you so many. It's 50 pattern sheets. The cost is extremely low for what you get. And I believe that there are 5, maybe even 6 6 different packs of paper that you would normally have gotten in the one. We have it in these colors that are the fall, that have the inner piece, as well as a few others that I haven't seen before. And then this one is your art collection that gives you some various different ones, also some that I've never seen before. So it goes anywhere from the sea to serenity to flowers. There's one that's called the Kingfisher in here that has birds and butterflies. That's just beautiful. So Studio Light has come out with some pretty neat stuff recently. I have not had a chance to look at the Write Your Own Story packs to see if they also have the neat tags in them. But I wanted to show you what I grabbed, so then that way you can grab one for yourself if you are interested. It is this one. It's called a mixed paper pad. It's the Vintage Diaries. And it's going to show you the actual printout here on the front when you see it. See that, those lines there? So you can see that there are tags on it. You want to get this one if you want to do one of these. You can always do it. Here's your Write Your Own Story with the backgrounds. You can always do it without the tags because you can make your own. But there are some really neat things that are in these new books from Studio Light. So I would encourage you to give that a try. And I don't know why my phone went off, but it did. Okay. So with that note, let's get going. If you want to create a pattern for yourself, my thought is that I'm going to create and design and give you guys an actual template to be able to use with the directions on how to make it fatter, skinnier, and taller, whichever direction you want it to go. Because literally, like I said with these, one is close to a 6x6 on the inside. If you see, most of the papers are 6x6 because that's what I ended up using. And then this one is much narrower, but it's thicker. So it's got a little bit more height to it, but it gets rid of, about 3/4 of an inch on the side, and then you get to have a little bit more separation. That's why it's a little bit taller, so that we could make it a little bit thicker. So in keeping that in mind, whatever I give you, you can totally make them in 8x8s. You can do them in lots of different sizes. This is just literally getting the folds right to the right places. And it's not math. I'm sure that I could come up with all the math, but it's not as much math as you can kind of go, oh, hey, I need to make, and if you look at this, you can see that here is, because I didn't fold them quite as close together so that you could see it. Actually, let me reopen this. If you see, this is one booklet and this is the other booklet. So the booklets are really where you want to go with these to figure out what do I need. So remember when I said my T needed to be in a space that had a big gap? Well, that's the reason why. Okay. It's because this is going to be your thickest area for you to put in some goodies. Is going to be right there because it's got a good size space to it. And then as you move out, they get a little bit, and in fact, this side that doesn't have anything on it, you can see how thin it is. But if you look down here, it's got those spaces. So just so that you know, and then this is the opposite 4 pages of that one, which means you have 8 pages in total in just one section to be able to decorate. So this, you have tons. If you don't want to have that many pages, you don't have to. Even if you just put in half the amount of pages, you're talking about 8 total pages in 4 pages because you've got both sides. So you can cut this down to 2 and just do 4 pages. And if you did that, then you can skip and do the middle page and the inside page, but then you could go out and do the second to the last page. And then you'd have a lot of nice thickness in there. And each one of the booklets would be about 4 pages per side on each side. So you'd have a little bit less that you would have to do. So that just means that all you're going to do there is, if you're going to do less pages or you want more space, you can keep it this thickness or this thickness, but you can also thin it down and make it a much thinner booklet because of using less pages in it. You don't need to have the height. So those are things to keep in mind. I'm going to give you the generic version and then we'll go from there. Okay, let's hope that I can do this as much as I've been trying to do this. I will tell you that I get a little bit confused. Yes, I made this, but I still get a little confused. And I do want to holler out to 3/4 because they were the ones that kind of started this with our craftaganza that we were doing for trainings. But they kind of got there was a missing sheet of instructions. And so I wanted to make it because I was sitting there and I was having fun and I thought, we're going to order this. It'll be great. I'll just go ahead and I'll make it. Because if I don't, I'll forget the approximate. Well, in the process, nothing came out quite right because of the instructions that they were trying to tell us over the feed. And without having anything written down, it was just not the same. And by the time that I got done, I had kind of created my own little concept. So 2 things that you will need: an idea of where you want to go with something. So in other words, do I want narrow? Do I want thick? But you also need to be able to determine what types of papers to use. So this is where I'm saying that it's going to matter that I'm using these 2 different kinds of papers. So this first one, I slid it into the Craft Perfect stuff, but it's not Craft Perfect. It's I believe that it's from Paper Accents. I could be wrong. It says that it's Derice, but I think that we got it from Paper Accents. This one is called Window Pane. So it's light on the outside like a window. It's got a beautiful linen texture to it. And on the inside, it's black. And part of the reason for that is that you can tear this and it has a core to it. So if you tear it, just like our little Sizzix ones that we had used some examples of with the gnome ones, you can take this and you can tear this. Could add small photos too. Yes, absolutely. You can add small. Isn't that the pad I asked Debbie how many envelopes was in it? Maybe. I'm not sure, Thelma. I haven't counted out how many envelopes are in there. But with this, you can also sand it and it will change to a little bit of the black that comes through, or you can tear it and then you will have a black edging if you want to tear it. So if you want to do something that's shabby chic type of a concept. This is a little bit thicker than our Craft Perfect papers. If you just type in 12 by 12s, one you're going to see is going to be Sandable by Darice, D-A-R-I-C-E. And then the Craft Perfect is Tonic's version of a 12 by 12. It's a little bit lighter, and so I was finding that it was easier to be able to put my papers to it and give me more space. The other one was super thick with papers, and I found that it was kind of keeping me from being able to put in some of the things that I wanted to. So these are the two that I'm using. One of them is for structure and the other is for our actual booklets on the inside. So you're going to see me switch between the two papers. So we'll talk about structure first. So the structure of these is that I'm making these as a 6 by 6. Excuse me, a 6 by, take that back. It'll be a 6 by, I think I kept it closer to the rectangular shape. So you can cut this at a 6. If you want a 6 by 6, you're literally just going to cut it in half. And it will be 6 on one side, and the other edge, you don't want to cut anything off the 12-inch line. So, for example, if I cut this as a 6 by 6, I have to make my wraparound out of these 2 pages. So based on what size you want will be where your scoring is going to happen. I know that that might sound a little like, at the time, but I think that you'll kind of understand. I recommend that you make yourself a sample first with what I am showing today. And then you can expand from there to make your folds to give it the spaces that you want. If you want to do an 8 by 8, it's going to be a little bit more work, but you can totally do an 8 by 8. You'll just be using more paper is all that it's going to happen. It certainly isn't right or wrong, just it depends on what your goal is. So if you want to keep it smaller and easier to use, then that is a perfect thing to be able to do. Okay. So out of the 6s, your 2 halves of the 6, you're going to want to cut 1 of these at 10 5/8. So here's my 10 and 5/8. And the other one is going to be a 7 1/4. So it's a little bit shorter. There we go. 7 1/4. So these are your 2 out out your wrap. So this is going to be your wrap piece. So all the way around, this is the start of your booklet, just to kind of give you an idea of how it works. Here's the start of your booklet. And then right back here, you're going to put that spleen on it, and then you're going to attach your other section of booklet. I didn't help with that, did I? Because you can't see. So this is the wrap around piece. It's going to come around and sit right into this area. And then you're going to just turn around and create the rest of it. So it ends, depending on which size, this one ends at the top. This one ended at the bottom, just because where the fold went. So just a heads up. But that's what we're making with this piece, so that you know where we're headed. Okay. So in this, you then want to, with your 6 and 7, 6 inch and 6 inches by 7 1/4. This is it. We want to give it the length because our book is going to go from 6 to 6, top to bottom. And then we have this piece that is a little bit longer. So we want to go that direction. So keep in mind that it's going to be more of a landscape shape because we are creating a wrap. So it's going to be long and short. You can make it smaller for like one of those gardening books if you wanted to, or you can make it bigger. And so really you're just kind of changing your shape by adding on either more or less to be able to make your book. Okay, so with this, you are going to need to score. And I cannot do this upside down because I can barely see it as it is. So you're going to want to do 1 3/8 score and a 4 1/2 score. And then your last one is 7, which I have the little tiny scoreboard piece. So here I just went ahead and I moved from knowing that this is 4 1/2. And if I need to do it and this is 7 1/4, well, that's really easy. All I have to do is flip it over. If it's 7 1/4 and I need to score at 7, then I just come in here and mark it at 1/4, right? So that makes sense. So if you have a small scoreboard, otherwise, if you have the bigger scoreboard, you can just keep going and do this at 7, and then you'd have 1/4 left. But on these, just to make it easy so that we have the space, I flipped it to give myself that 1/4 edge on that last inside. So you're going to want to fold this because this is where you join your 2 flaps together. Okay. Then you have this. And then you have this one. And this is going to be so much stronger, excuse me, than the other one had been. So I think that we'll have a good, nice space. And so that's the 7. And then the 10 is we're going to score it at 4 3/4. So 4 3/4. This is the 10 5/8. You're going to score at 4 3/4, and then you're going to score at 6. Excuse me. And so what I'm just going to do here is that I know that right here is 5. So I am just going to slide that over to 4. And if I mark this at 5, I now have it at 6. I know that that was a little confusing, but it works. And if you have a longer scoreboard to use, that would be 10 times better. But under the circumstances, I can't do both on the little table. So from here, I'm going to take my tacky glue, and I hope that Debbie has hers full and, yep, ready to go. Okay, so if this is our wrap and we're having to add to a side, let's see what makes sense, right? So if I do this is this really going to work? So if I put it this way, no, it's not going to work. So instead, I know that this is going to be the end here. So if you're not sure which way it goes, it's really easy. Because you've already made all your score lines, you can basically see how to put it together. Except for I must have done a score line wrong. Oh, it figures. Okay. Either that or I still have it wrong. I think I did a score line wrong on this side because it should be as wide as, it is as wide as that side though. I apologize, guys. Did I grab the wrong scoring? Maybe I did. I have some extra score pieces over here. Did I not cut it right? I'm so sorry, guys. Had it all figured out, of course. Isn't that the way that it works? Okay, let me make sure that I've got the right length here. And 5/8. Yes, I grabbed the wrong paper. That's why it's not working. Okay, let's try this again. I thought it really couldn't be that difficult, could it? Make sure that I have the right one. Still off. Why am I off? I'm so sorry. I think I wrote down one of my measurements wrong, so I apologize, guys. It is this one. I think I just did the measurement wrong when I was in here doing this. Sorry, guys. I know that it goes this way, so I'm going to just start here. We'll probably have to make a new score line, but I'm just going to put it all together first. I had notes. I had everything ready to go. So I'm taking and I'm just gluing in one spot to the other. I can see specifically that that my problem is right here at this fold. It shouldn't be here. So since I know that it's not in the right place, we'll get you the right measurement here. Okay, so instead of scoring at did I jump the gun and read the thing twice? Maybe. That's always a possibility. 3/8. 4.5. So I can see right here that this is in the wrong spot. So I have this space is going to equal out to here just fine. But what I need is my other fold to be not right to there, but over a little bit more. So bear with me here. Let me think this through. Okay, if I want it to go from here to here, I need the same length as this, which is 1 inch. So right here is where I need the 1 3/8. I think that I put this on backwards. I mean, I put, excuse me, I put my notes down backwards. So this is 1 inch, 1 1/4 inches. Then this should also be from this point. It's 1 inch and 1/8. I believe that that should take care of it. Nope, still didn't. Oh, I've crossed them over. Okay, sorry guys. I need it to be a full 1 inch and 1/4. 1 3/8. That's where I think I made my mistake. Okay. Had the right measurements, just had them in the wrong places. So, sorry guys, I was trying to put my box together wrong. So remember when I said it will make sense. So you're going to make your wrap first. So here's all of our wrapping. There is going to be, just because of the kind of paper that this is, you're going to see a little bit of breakthrough. It's not a problem for the paper. It's nice and sturdy. And in fact, it might be fun to go through and sand it and make these edges a little bit blacker. Or like I did with this one, it's not going to really matter because I've put an entire wrap on the front with the exact same measurements from here all the way up and around. So it's covering any of my major folds that are going to show with that black. And other ones, it is Mariar, it is the Ciao Bella. It is the Ciao Bella. It's the Morning in Provence. And Good Night, Mary. Okay, so here's my wrap. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make our books. But before we can do that, I've got to put in on the inside here, I need to make sure that I'm putting in what papers I want in the back. So under these circumstances, let's just say that I'm going to go, because I'm not sure what I'm going to use where. I think I'm just going to choose one of these kind of backgrounds. And so you can choose, because your booklets go right in here. So because of that, you're going to have, excuse me, because of that, you're going to not want to end up having it sit in a spot that is going to bend like the one that I had before. So when you cut this one piece, it's 6 inches by 7.5 inches. So let's go. Six inches by 7.5 inches. And then you're going to want to take this paper and you're going to want to score it at 1 1/4. Flip it around and do it again, 1 1/4. The goal here is to get it up and behind your background. And what I found this last time is that it was a little bit long and it kind of poked out on the other edge. So I'm going to test that really quick. And no, this one will not. So you can really see. I still think I have my numbers off. That's really embarrassing, guys. I'm so sorry. I think that will help. So you're going to go through and you're going to you can put this down with glue, or you can use your sticky tape, and I may decide that that's going to be the faster way to do it for us tonight. And I just attached these parts because I know I just attached the sides because you are going to have some movement. It's just part of the process. So because of that, I wanted to make sure that I got it right. And with that movement in the back, it will also allow your papers to not buckle or change and distort because you needed it and it was so tight that you can't get around your wrap, for example. So again, this is 6 by 7 1/4. You're going to attach it to the other side of the 6 by 10 5/8. I will put the correct score lines on and we'll have a download for you. I will probably put it up and have Debbie send an email out when she gets back into town on Sunday. I believe she might be coming back on Monday. So I'm not sure. She's enjoying her time with Jordan. So since I do not do any of the, because I don't do any of the stuff with emails, that's all going to be her. So I'll get it up and to you over the next few days. And so hopefully you'll be able to enjoy it and have fun with it. So from here, we now have our booklet pieces to put together. I still did not correct it right. Man, I'm going to have a bad score line, guys. Okay, so what we're going to do from here is we've got our backing and we've got our wrapping. And from here, you're going to go through and you're going to cut your blue papers also into 6x6. So this is the craft paper 6x6. Excuse me, 6x12. And then each one of these is going to be a different size. One is going to be 9.5 by 6. One is going to be 9.25 by 6. The next one will be 8 7/8 by 6. And the fourth one will be 8.5 by 6. So the idea is that you have, by the time that all is said and done, your smallest paper will be on the inside and your largest papers are going to be on your outside. And I made the decision when I was doing this that I wanted to put my 9.5 by 6 in this paper because I want to make sure that it's strong enough. So this one should be my 9.5. Yep, this is my 9.5 ready to go. So this is my 6 by 9.5. And then our score lines are going to be 4 1/8 and 5.5 for this one. I've already done all the scoring that I need to for the 3 inside leaves, but I wanted to make sure that I had enough to give it some strength, because I think that's what caused these to kind of slide out and be more of a, instead of staying in this shape so that you're flipping through them and then you flip back and forth. Instead, it did a lot of moving into almost seeing 3.5 pages at a time. So we're going to give this a shot and see if it does what I'm hoping that it will do with this one. Okay, so I want my score lines to be 4 1/8 and 5.5. And so now this should be our book. And I call them little booklets just because that's kind of what they are. They sit one inside the other. It's a little book piece that you have. So again, I'll be putting in all of these for you. If you don't have a place to print it up, just the next time that you put in an order, let them know that you want a copy of the template for this with all the measurements, and we can mail it to you with your next order, whenever that might be. So just either drop an email to customer service at simplyspecialcrafts.com, and then I or Mary will get it directly and we can make sure that we drop it in your order. So hopefully you will be able to do that. Or if you want to print it out, you'll have an email to be able to print those out. And in the presence of time, I went ahead and I scored each one already. And I'm just going to run tape. This isn't the best way to do it, just because this is fat tape too. This is craft style. This probably isn't the best way to do it because it's not going to be as strong as glue, but in the process of time, so this is our smallest page, and the reason why you go wider is so that, or a longer cut, is because then that way when you fold them you won't have miscellaneous folds. And that's where I started changing from what the concept was with 3/4, was that I noticed that my pages, they were all off and they were really hard I really wanted to be able to go through and not have to every little bit go, do I need to have another, excuse me, do I need to have another another size? Did I get that size right? If you're trying to cut all your pages, it's a lot harder if you don't at least have a semblance of order to your pages. So by doing it this way, you should be able to cut all your pages at one fell swoop size. I'm just rolling up the tape to be on the back of the spine so I don't end up with some of it sticking down here, because if I do, then it won't work very well. The narrower that you create your booklet, the less thickness it can have within the pages. So just remember that, and you will have to adjust your measurements to that if you want to make this album into a different size, or you want it for a different thickness. So this is going to handle about 3 layers per page. At this size, but you may decide that, hey, I want something with a little bit more space. And then you're just making your pages a little bit longer and widening it out. And when you widen, you're going to increase your height. So that's where your math is going to come in. And I will show you some examples of how to do that on the papers once we get those out to you. And I apologize that I did not think about having that done ahead of time. I just figured, hey, I can tell you guys and it'll all work out just fine. Well, that was not true, and I'm very sorry. So this is my 3 that I created out of the blue, and then this is my thicker outside area. I love this Craft Perfect because it gives you a linen feel, and it just makes it look a little bit richer, but the colors match just as nicely on the back side of it where you're gonna have your other pieces of paper. So I will make any of my pages that I have, I want to make sure that when I do it, if I'm going to use a page that is smaller than what's here, you want to use it on the linen side, which is on the inside, because these outer edges, you're going to notice not only does it not have the linen paper to it or pattern to it on the back side, but this is also excuse me, this is also going to be the area where you'll probably want to put in a full page so that it goes all the way around without any border of the blue showing. So then that way it finishes it off within each of those creases, because there is a crease in between them. Okay, so what you want to do at this point is see where our paper is here. We're going to want to put that right in that spot where we have the lines on both sides. And I think that I may have grabbed one of the ones that's a little bit smaller than 6 inches tall, because one of the 12 by 12s did not actually make it to 12 by 12. So this is where you're definitely going to want to use glue. Like I said, in the fact that it is hitting a little bit past 5:30 and we like to be done by about now, I'm going to be able to wrap it up pretty quickly by doing it this way. But I will want to go back and actually add some extra glue. And because it's craft perfect, or not craft perfect, because it's craft style tape, I should be able to remove it and put in my glue later. So you just want to keep it even and smooth. Make sure that you don't go over your line. And what I mean by your line, you don't want to go over. I did this all with glue before, so it definitely is grabbed. You don't want to go over what is this line here, and over here in the black part, there's your fold. So you don't want to get your binding in between or over that line, because you're going to want that to be there so that you can open and fold your book at any point in time. And much easier to do with glue than with tape. Okay, so this is 1/2, and this is really all you need to be able to see and know. Cover it up and no one will know. So what you're going to do is that, like I said, I'll redo the glue here later. But these are all of my pages. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side. And as soon as I would have the rest of mine scored and cut, I would put the other ones here, just like how I just made this booklet. So you basically have 2 little booklets. I went through and I still haven't decided for myself. So this is something that you may want to decide. And maybe if you guys decide to make some of these, you can go back later into the comment section of YouTube after you've had a chance to make this. And in the comments, let me know. Do you like putting your booklet together before you put it into your wrap? Or do you like the idea of building it up first and then putting it into your wrap? And the reason why I'm asking that question is because with this, one of the things that you need to remember is that when you do your folds, when you want to do your folds, you're not going to put a whole bunch in one spot and less in another. So you're going to literally go through here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 and a wrap. So that is exactly what you're doing. So if you go through and you do these, you will either want to make sure that you just have your booklets next to each other and that you've made a plan on how you want to put them and integrate them into each other. So just like this one where you've got your pages, and then let's say that this is your other page, because I was being efficient. Let's say that this is your other pages. You're going to want to make sure that you go through, and if you want it to match each other, so let's say that you want it to have this look to where this page is going to look similar to this page, so that when you open it, you've got the same storyline. So if I wanted to do my story, my poem of lavender, and I wanted to do my smells so that you kind of got the smell of lavender, and then you move forward into the foods section and then into the fields section. And so every opposite page is going to be, and then you've got your middle page. You're going to want to make sure that you keep it so that it is cohesive. And one of the ways to do that is to do all the work with the booklet together. But I will say that it takes a lot more work at fitting all the pages in, making sure that they're all the right size, going through that process. And so I want to make sure that you are aware that it's something that you'll want to definitely go through and make sure that you, it says, are we still live? I would hope so. If it's not working, I apologize. I don't know, guys, because I don't get to see it. So hopefully you were able to get this and I'm not dead on arrival. So go ahead, and when you have the opportunity to make one for yourself, let me know. Did you like doing it, or do you have a tip on doing it with the books outside of the entire thing? Or did you find that it was easier to be able to do it one side, one side, one side, one side? So let me know. Oh, nope, you're not on replay at this point in time, Mary. I'm still here, but I'm heading out the door. So that's that portion. Give me a thumbs up if you would like. However, I do recognize that I, for some reason, messed up my score measurements, and I've measured it like 3 times before I ever wrote it down. So I don't know what happened, but I apologize. I really did not want that to happen. We'll put on the lavender quotes if people have an interest. All you need to do is let me know on your comments that that's something that you would like to see in the store. And there may be times that we would put in other quotes, but for this one, with the vintage diaries, they've already got all the words and stuff for you to be able to make it. So this is a perfect one. You can also use any of the quotes that we do have in any of your books that you want to use. That's basically what we did here. So you're more than welcome at any point in time to use those, just like you use them in your explosion boxes. And with that, I think that we have one other thing. I believe that Debbie showed you last night our cards. Oh dear, I didn't want to bury them. Here they are. We have cards set up for next Saturday's class. It's going to be Find It Tradings, Painted Pansies. We have a beautiful little die that makes both circles, and then I just cut this one out to kind of blend it and make it a bigger picture because the other one is a little bit smaller. This is it whole, so it kind of pulls it in a little bit, and I didn't want them all to look the same. So when I made these samples, I kind of messed around with them a little bit to give them different looks based on how to use the die. And then Debbie's going to come up with something totally different because we all think differently. So here's 2 of them. This one is probably one of my favorites. I feel like when I was looking at the 3D work for the pansies, I felt like it looked like it was sitting on a table. And so I thought, hey, we've got some paper that looks like a tablecloth. Let's see what we can do. So this is our card that we came up with for our painted pansies on a tablecloth. And if you purchase the kit, you will get all the backgrounds. These are backgrounds that we had to go through and find so that we knew that it would work with what we've got. And that it would look really pretty because we did not have the Painted Pansies booklet like we usually do. So this kind of pushed us a little bit more out of the usual, and it's going to be something totally different because we chose to make and create our own backgrounds to go with it. And then here's the 4th example. So next, not 2 days from now, but it's yes, it's the Morning in Provence Ciao Bella paper. Sorry, I did answer, but I think that you had already left. So yes, it's the Ciao Bella lavender paper pack. This one right here is our last one of the 4, but that means that you're going to get 4 pages with 3 designs each. So we're going to have sitting at, yeah, I can do math today. Here's 4. So we should be getting 12 cards out of this Saturday class. So this is using all the dies. Isn't that beautiful? It's so pretty. So that is what's coming, not in 2 days. 2 days we're doing a rerun because Debbie is spending time with her family. But in a week from this coming Saturday, we'll be making these cards, and hopefully we'll have more to show you along the way in the next couple of, probably I'm hoping for What's New Wednesday time. So if we can, and if you are interested in purchasing the item for the Find It trading, we're hoping to try and get back on track of letting you guys be able to make things with us so that we have a kit ready to go. The replay that you're going to have this coming Saturday is the Happy Bee that Debbie did, and she's put it on. I want to let you know there is only 4 kits that are left. And so if you want one of those kits, I would recommend that you hop on the good foot and do the good thing. So I will talk with you guys later. Thank you so very much. And I am out of here. We'll see you next time. Bye.